Happy Valentines Day! Yeah, to celebrate the 365th best holiday of the year, let's talk about why I can't stand most love stories. Yatta! Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not a romantic fanatic. As far as I'm concerned, there's 27 days in February, and there was just a misprint everyone just went with. But honestly, it isn't the reasons you would think. It's mostly because I find this holiday extremely boring. Yes, my hatred of Valentine's Day, to recap, is less about pure rage and more about just utter boredom. I have no interest in being in a romantic relationship at this time, for other reasons, therefore I can't relate to the entire concept of this holiday. So for the whole 24 hours I get stuff like love stories scarfed down my throat. But it isn't only Drew Valentine's Day. I have a problem with love stories in general. Of course, there are exceptions. The show, From the Amazing World of Gumball, wound up becoming my favorite episode in that show, and that's predominantly a romance episode. And plus, there are some relationships I can admit that can become adorable, but that's 1 out of every 10, and it's a lot more common than you'd think. I think it's to best understand why I can't stand most love stories is to focus on why I like some of the love stories I do, and what they do differently. There are 2 kinds of love stories in cartoons, one that spans throughout the majority of the series, and one that spends its length throughout 1 episode. The show is an example on how I feel a love story that spans throughout a series can be done right, which is often the one that agitates me the most. Like, the Penny and Gumball shipping didn't really grab me, mostly because it just felt like every high school love story. There are no emotional stakes, the characters are often forced to be distanced, and all the other cliches you can think of. That may came from most of my childhood, well, I'm still a child, never mind, most of my life, consisting of watching only the Disney Channel, since I had a really small range of channels during then. And I just had to watch Disney sitcom after Disney sitcom when I was bored. These are the dark ages. But in this episode, they not only do put these characters in a situation where they feel like actual stakes, actual trials to overcome, and impactful character developments that sticks throughout the future episodes. Here, their relationship feels important, and they actually get together. Most shows just tease us and only have these couples get together at the very end of the series. That dries out getting the getting together phase until nothing's left, and leaves the potential of having this commitment and new level of bonding between these characters untapped. Constantly teasing us in sitcom levels becomes frustration to the point where we don't care when they constantly tackle it because we know it'll go nowhere. To me, it becomes tedious. Fry and Leela becoming the immediate example. There are some relationships, like Phineas and Isabella, I admit can be adorable. I'm a bit softer on childhood relationships because they do have a level of innocence and happiness that makes it interesting. But even then, it gets constantly teased to an annoying level. I feel like love stories are often more bearable when they're put in a single episode because they usually feature characters that won't return, so we don't know how that will work out. Going now to cartoons here, there's a Doctor Who episode, The Girl in the Fireplace, which I feel works really well as a love story because it's a mix between tragedy and wonder that develops their characters. Love stories have the potential to bring new levels of comedy, but they often work best when they give a level of emotional stake and seriousness beyond what their show usually does, because it is a brand new level of interaction that can go beyond the individual. It's when they tap into the pathetic drama often found in high school sitcoms, when it starts to really become tedious, which many cartoons especially feel they need to do to relate to children. Which I personally don't see. Even as a kid, I hated these stories. In fact, as a kid, I probably hated them even more. Love is a complicated thing, especially to depict in medium. Many assume it's easy because everyone else is doing it, and that's the main problem. Because everyone else is kind of doing it wrong. It's not all good and it's not all bad. It's a balance that must be mix importance and lightheartedness. I don't understand love myself either. That's why I never made a love story yet. and you probably shouldn't expect one for a long time. I will not be able to do these right. So here's the point I got from this video. Love stories done well are a delicate balance between so many different kinds of emotions that it is extremely hard to perfect. And the fact that so many mediums get it wrong begins to just make love stories feel toxic from the get-go. Every show I've seen that tries to tackle romance gets it wrong at least once. Ugh.